All right, we're going to get into more of the subject of how to override themes. When you have different themes in your desktop, they will affect the way the widgets look. They'll change the size of the widgets. They'll change the colors of the widgets. And this may not be desirable if you want a closely packed application where you want to keep the widgets and buttons and so forth to exactly the same size. All right, so how do you do it? The themes, of course, are I'm in Mint Mate, Linux Mint with Mate 19.3, and we have a lot of possible changes here. I just right-clicked somewhere on the desktop and went to change background, and there it is down there, change desktop background. This first page that comes up can take quite a while. I don't know why, but sometimes it does. Go to theme. You see all the themes here. I've got a bundle of them. Once you pick a theme, I'm in Mint X, okay? You can customize it by selecting the controls, the Windows border. I like Mint, I like the ME down here, but nobody else does. You can select the icons. I like the flat old GNOME icons, and you can change the pointer. Anyway, that's a lot of changes. I don't particularly, the default is Mint Y. I don't particularly like Mint Y. But anyway, so I just changed the themes and ruined everything for a closely packed window with widgets on it. All right, what I'm going to do is we're going to this is the window we're playing with. It's got two things. It's got a scroll bar, which I'll do some other time. I'll just stick with the button here, just an ordinary GTK button. It's got our icon in it with text to the right of the icon. All right, so that's it. Nothing unusual there, and it's in code. It's the same code. Well, that we used before. Another, and one of the early, I think it was part 9. Used approximately this code. There's a scroll bar and there's a button and so forth. There's some provider stuff we're going to get into in a minute. That's new. But anyway, if I go to run it, I compile it and I'll run it. You can see there it is. It's a standard GTK window. Most of them look something like this. It's gray against gray. Now the worst thing is if I go and go to change the background, I go to the default theme, which happens to be Mint Y. Where's Mint Y? It gets worse. There's a trough here. It's barely visible. And I'm clicking on it and dragging, and you can see it's actually responding. That's horrible. This is approximately horrible. They certainly changed the icon, and they kind of made it. This flat look is very difficult on a lot of people's eyes, including mine. I don't like it, but that's popular now. So I'm going back to Mint X. So I can actually see something from shading around the button, and you see there's a hover. If you move over the button, it changes color slightly. All right, so those are standard buttons in whatever theme you're in. Some of the distros lock the themes down. Ubuntu locks the theme down quite a bit. You don't get to change too many things, but you can still change stuff. All right, the question is, I want to alter the appearance of that window. I don't like it. Well, what you need to do is to find the CSS nodes that affect those widgets on your screen. And one way to do it is to go and get a copy of the full theme and hunt through it, hack it. Sorry, that's how you do it. File system, you go down to user, go down to share. Now, this may be different on your system if you're not using Mint Mate, but it's in themes, and these are all the themes. There's a bunch of them. Now, the one I've been playing with is Mint Y, and you go down to GTK 3. I've played with it because there's some other things there I've played with. Backup and .00 won't be there in yours. GTK CSS, that's the entire theme. You can see here it's 177 kilobytes, so it's a lengthy piece of text. I can bring it up here, and you can see it's just, huge. And I don't like colors either. All right, so there's the theme. So I copied that over to my directory here, GTK CSS. This from the themes, it's GTK 3.0. 2.0 will probably work, but the 3.0 has the more recent stuff in it, and I copied it over, and then I modified it. There's other possibilities. Why didn't I pick Mint X, you ask? Because I like Mint X better. Because Mint X, when you get down here, is broken it up. This gtk.css has one line in it. It starts importing stuff, so forget that. The information is in either one of them. If it's in one file, it's easier to hack through. All right, this is it back here. This is it. It's the start of it, and if I do a Control-G, you can see it's 3,960 lines. I've added a couple of lines, but that's about the full length. All right, there it is. Now, how do I apply stuff to my widgets? Well, here's my regular program. Everything up here is normal. This is new, Gtk CSS provider, and I declare a provider variable, or a pointer, which I called CSS provider 1. Not very imaginative, but anyway. And then I have to initialize it, and I call the function Gtk CSS provider new. There's a couple of functions that work here, but GTK's provider new is the one. It basically returns you a pointer to what I assume is a data structure in memory, and that is what we'll be using. But anyway, you get the provider. Next thing is I need to load the provider with the CSS that I want. And this is one of the functions from path. This loads it from a particular path and a particular user. Loading it from a resource is better. We did that in an earlier video, how to set up resources. And you can do the same thing here. It could load it from a resource. But anyway, there's the path. It's the path to my Gtk CSS in part 40 Gtk CSS. Sorry, I've had the flu. I'm going to cough through this thing. You'll have to bear with me. I've tried it 3 times, and halfway through I start coughing. All right, so that's it. Loads the provider with the Gtk CSS, which is this guy back here, which is in this directory here. So that's the stuff we're loading, and we're loading into the provider. Now I have to apply the provider. I'm not doing the scroll one yet. Do that some other time. Let's apply it to window. Okay, I'm uncommenting it. And that's a function in here. It's a function which simply applies, there it is there, CSS set. It gets the widget, and it gets the provider, and it gets the context for the widget, and then it applies the provider to the widget, and it sets a priority as to who can override this, and so forth and so on. But you can see the code there. I'll bring it back up there. I'll put this on my website, of course, but it's you pass down the provider and the widget. You get the context from the widget with Gtk widget get style context, big long name, and you pass the name of the widget, or the pointer to the widget, actually. And you get a context pointer back. You use that context pointer to slap the provider onto it. And you see I've used a cast, because CSS provider came down. Well, it came down as a CSS provider. I probably didn't need the cast, obviously. It must have originally been a widget somehow, and it was cast back to a provider. And then the priority, provider priority, it's who can override this. And you can look that up separately, but priority user is standard. All right, so that applies the provider to window. Window, of course, is my window for this application. And I'll write it out. I'll go over here and compile it. And I will run it. Oh my, it changed color. Yeah, at least it's not gray. It's red. Nothing else changed, but the background is certainly red. All right. You could, of course, change the background from a function in your GTK program, in your C program, but this did it from the CSS level. Okay, we got some well, how did that happen? Well, first of all, here I'm back in the GTK. This is the very beginning of the file. It's line 18. And what I did is the original line here is with the XXXs. It's commented out, and it was originally, that's RGB and alpha. So it was gray, 240, 240, 240. 255, 255, 255 would have been white. 000 would have been black. And it's not even 100% white. It's 99.9% white. But anyway, so I just changed background color to a good old-fashioned color number. Red. Red, green, blue. 100% red. No green, no blue. So what did we get? Red. All right, that's nice. I want to work on the button. So I'm searching through here. I put XXX's in the front so I could find things. And all right, here's button, and I've added additional blank lines in here to make space things out. You can see you can see what the triple X's are. Those are the original lines, and then there's the line I modified right above it. And I've modified it garishly, so when you see it, it really does change. But there's a lot of changes there. Well, the button on this thing didn't change at all. That button's the same as it was before. So what happened? Well, what happened is that the CSS applies to the window didn't get inherited by the parts of the window. Joy. There's probably a way of doing it. I don't know how to do it, but it seems like it should, but it doesn't. Anyway, so the next thing I do is I provide it directly to the button. Same provider, same function to do the provision, and the button is B1. Okay? Now I'm providing it to both. I wrote it out, if you're not VI friendly. And I compile the thing, and now I run it. Get ready. Wow, now that's a button. Like I said, I made it kind of giant and garish. You see there's my mouse over, or my hover, I think they call it. So yeah, I modified the button. Now let's see what happens if I go to change background again, and I go to theme. I'm in Mint X. Let's move this over here so it'll be more visible. Mint Y. The only thing that changed was the icon. You notice that? The icon changed, but the shape of the button didn't. And it would have. You remember the last time when I changed from theme to theme, the button became, flat and unimaginable, difficult to find, and so forth on the screen. But now it doesn't matter what I do. The only thing that changed was the icon, and the icon really is not changing back and forth now. Oh, there it is changing. Sorry. So there's the icon for X, and there's the icon for Y. That's the only thing that changed. Changing icons is kind of a nuisance, but anyway, they do that. Nonetheless, I've gotten around the problem of somebody changing the theme and changing the shape and color of the button. Shape and color of the button did not alter. Oh, happiness. Okay, so that's all I did. I provided it. I had to provide it to the button. Now, you don't want to provide 3,900 lines of CSS to change the color of a button. It's a little bit overkill. So what you would do is make your changes and then cut the code, the CSS code out that you need, and put it into its own file. Okay? And the button code is relatively short. So let's look at some of the other things I did. I don't need this anymore. Because I'm going to keep that, and we can get rid of the thing in the background here. All right. So what I did is change the height. You can see the button got really, really big, tall. The width I didn't change. I didn't change the width. Border. Border was 1 pixel. Now it's 5 pixels. You can see that large blue border. That's the border width. Border radius. Radius is the curviness of corners. And it was 3, and I changed it to 33. So rather than be squared off corners, it got to be relatively rounded. Let's see what if I put something bizarre like 133 in there and recompile. Now it's practically an oval. All right. So there, the radius, which can be something highly desirable if you don't want, if you don't like square buttons, you want something a little more lozenge shaped or something. There you go. So there's the radius. That's what radius does. Padding is padding full with the padding. Padding is the, well, let's find out what padding is. Let's make that 50. I don't know. Padding could be anywhere on the button is what I'm saying there. So or nothing at all. It sometimes doesn't even show up. Yeah, I think something changed there. I don't know what it was. It looks like, I think the height padding changed. Let's make that really gross and see if what the change is. This is how you do it. You have to go in and trial and error. And yeah, that was it. It was the vertical padding. The first one's vertical. The second one is is horizontal padding. Assume you can see the outline of the square in which the button exists. You can change that background too, by the way. So we'll just leave it like that. All right. The color. You'll notice the text is green. Not a particularly good choice since the background is green, but all right, the text is green. And you see I substituted my own color number there, which is 00FF00. All right, what else did I go? Border color. This is where I made it blue. Okay? 0000FF. That's blue instead of gray. Make it any color you want. I made the border bigger too, obviously. Background color, I couldn't get it. The background color wouldn't change. The background color is being overridden somewhere else in this GTK. I don't know where. The background color was white smoke, and it wouldn't let me override it by changing it. But it probably would if I cut this code out and made it separate. Someplace else in this gtk.css, somebody else is overriding the background color at a higher level. All right, background. So I threw in a background image. Background images, these are kind of cute. You'll have to look them up. But there's all sorts of shapes that can be at the center. They can be diagonal. They can be all over the place. And they're different ratios of color. And I made yellow in the center 20% and green on the edges 80%. Now, let's try blue here. If you like these colored images, I saved it and compile it, and now you see it's a bluish image. Now when I click it, you see we do get, of course the clicking is not doing anything, but it is responding. You can see the change there. If you want to alter the color pattern, when you click it, you go down to the button active, and that's down. There's hover. There's button active and button checked. This is where you would fool around with the color and put another one of those background images here. Let me, should work. I'm going to try to, this should be the area where it is. Background color. I'll put this in here and I'll swap the things. I'll make this blue. Not all color numbers are good, color words are good color words. You know, the GTK is not the full Netscape color set, but it's close. Let's see what that works here, and we'll kill it. And yeah, you see the color change there? Wow, that's kind of, looks like it came out of a Star Trek episode. That's where the one of the aliens is. But that's what I modified there was I'll put a, let me put some XXs above here. So I know all the places that I'll put this code up on the website, where all the points where I modify. There's a lot of places to modify stuff. And once you've got all the modifications, take them out, put them in their own file, and load them. You only need the button code to run a button. You don't need all 3,900 lines of CSS. Unfortunately, I have not found a way to make the thing apply to the entire page. A window should do it, but it doesn't. There must be a way, but I don't know what it is. But anyway, the goal was to come up with button colors and button shapes and things that can't be changed by the theme. And if I go back down here I opened up the theme again one more time. And I go to theme, and I'm in Mint X, and we'll go to Mint Y. Yeah, you can see some things changed in the border up here. Of course, the scroll changed because I haven't altered the scroll. But my garish little button didn't. I went to a dark theme there, and sometimes the dark themes will change, especially the text. But I already changed the color of the text. The hover, you can see the hover there changes the color of text, and but yeah, that's a dark theme, and there's a regular mint theme. So yeah, there's a way of doing it. And this technique can be applied to all of the widgets on your screen. It's sometimes fairly difficult to ferret out where all the parts are, all the nodes are. GTK gives you, some documentation on this, but the only way that I've found to get it all is to hunt through the actual GTK theme, a GTK theme. And that will tell you what the names are, and then The way to do it is to fiddle with it until you get something that you like. You might like this size button, in which case you're home free. All right, that was my first attempt to show you how to hit the CSS. There's some other ways of hitting the CSS. So if you want to change the theme just for your own program, for your own application temporarily, there is a way of doing that. It's not very reliable, but it depends upon your system and so forth. They don't make this easy. They should, but they don't. They try to stick you with the theme they've got and not let you change it. But changes are desirable, obviously. All right, unless, of course, you're really fond of gray against gray. All right, I managed to get through this without choking to death. We'll try some other ones with the scroll bar perhaps tomorrow.